So my name is Polina, and I'm a senior research scientist at Insilica Medicine, leading the Biomarket development team. So Insilica is a company that focused on applying artificial intelligence techniques such as deep learning to drug discovery and biomarket development. So my role in the company is to use deep learning to develop new biomarkers of aging and disease and so on. So my background is in biology. I was trained as a geneticist and a bioinformatician, but I'm also part-time with the computer science department of the University of Oxford. So our main focus is to develop new molecules for different diseases. We focused on several conditions, including fibrosis and other various types of cancers, so age-related pathologies. On the biomarker side, we use deep learning advanced algorithms to develop predictors of biological age and also disease. I think organizers did an amazing job attracting speakers from various fields. This I find really appealing when you have people who work not only directly in aging, but also in cancer, in neurodegenerative diseases, in regenerative medicine, and stem cell technologies, etc., etc. That's why I think it's really useful to have such a broad overview or current state of the art of those technologies, recent advances in those technologies. So then later you can understand what the field is, how your research is actually integrated in a field, and what our problems are and challenges are and which direction to move. So I think this is amazing. The job that organizers in particular Aubrey de Grey did this amazing job. So I can see there is a lot of optimism right now around longevity biotechnology and regenerative medicine. I think it's mainly driven by the recent successes in therapies, including the senolytics trials and some of the advancement by the company called Retrotop. They have also drugs in the clinical phases. I believe there is phase 3 right now. So those recent successes show that we can actually develop some therapies to target some age-related processes. I guess that's boosted the optimism, and this is why we have so many people are thinking of it. But plus, I think there are a lot of influencers right now who focused on aging and who focused on how we can optimize our lifestyle to live longer and healthier life. I guess that's also brought more people into the field, because what I found interesting that I met a lot of people here who has no background in biology, for example, or in particular in aging. They're like mathematicians or just clinical psychologists. So those people who just interested in aging for themselves. And I guess they've been attracted by those influencers like Aubrey de Grey. He did a really good job again, not only attracting amazing speakers for this conference, but also attracting people into the field, which is great. We need people with different backgrounds, different skills to tackle this problem. It's a really challenging problem. So, as I mentioned, one of the main focuses of our company is to use deep learning and other AI technologies to develop small molecules. So what we do, we use neural networks first to predict the efficacy of small molecules. So later we can filter down huge libraries of prospective leads to identify molecules that will be highly will have a high efficacy in some conditions, also a good safety profile, and so on and so on. You can make those discriminations to a lot of factors to find a desirable molecule. What we also do, and this is our main interest right now, and this is the field when we invented a lot, is we generate molecules from scratch. So instead of filter those libraries, which is like a standard pharmaceutical company approach of doing things, a standard drug discovery pipeline, you have a huge library of molecules, like a sea of molecules, and you're trying to filter them down, narrow the list down to find the prospective one. It's not really efficient, first of all, because you have to screen for all of them. Plus, even though the libraries are really huge, they're still limited. The type of chemistry, type of molecules you can get there. So instead of filtering molecules, we decided we can generate them from scratch with the desired properties. So what we do, we use a technique which is called generative modeling. We use neural networks that, let's say, have some sense of creativity. So they train on good molecules and bad molecules to get sense what a good molecule is, what kind of characteristics describe those molecules. And later you can use this network to produce a really nice molecule. So we did this, so we have right now really like top hits in some of the areas which are undergoing preclinical testing and hopefully will go into clinical trials relatively soon. So this is what we do, and this is our main focus, generative modeling. I would say we are at the beginning of an AI revolution in healthcare. It's advanced a lot of areas, including imaging, including self-driving cars, all those areas. They generate a lot of hype, but the hype was built on the really credible advances. So we can see it and we can believe it, what's going on. We have those self-driving cars on the streets. We can go to the doctor and have our CT scanned by a neural network, and it will predict like heart condition that we have, with a really amazing accuracy. So all of this generated a lot of hype and attention from pharmaceutical companies, from biotech companies, also from researchers from academia, in trying to adopt and apply those techniques in various fields of biology. But yeah, I agree that we are at the beginning of this revolution. It looks really promising. The challenges that we have right now is we have to think how to apply it properly and correctly, how to validate, how to get good data to train on, how to try to debias our neural networks because they tend to overfeed. So you have to think of your design. You have to design your experiment properly. I guess that's the major challenge. And also the lack of talent. The field is so new. It's really hard to find people who has expertise both in computational biology in general, probably in some specific field if you focus on immune aging, for example, something like that. And at the same time in machine learning, there are no such people. There are like machine learning experts are emerging. It's like the hottest position you can get. So there are people there who know machine learning, but they are only on the market for a short period of time. That's also a challenge, lack of talent, and also lack of expertise from companies as well. If, for example, you are a company who's trying to develop a deep learning approach or AI approach, you have to have people who understand the deep learning. Otherwise, you're not able to give tasks and manage other people who will actually implement those algorithms. So it's also really challenging. We will see how it goes. It's actually evolving really fast. But yeah, we're definitely at the beginning of this revolution, which really exciting, but yeah. Sure, so as I mentioned, one of the challenges that we have to design our experiments properly, especially when we apply advanced techniques, because they tend to overfeed, they tend to identify some features that are probably not reliable, never going to be robust and translated into other domains, something like that. So we have to think about the experiments twice before actually doing them, because it's also really computationally extensive to train them. It's not like you can go there and try one more time. Usually you have to plan first to optimize your computational costs, so on. And I think we are moving in this direction because people are trying to first, when they do experiments with published paper, they tend to release the code that they use to produce the experiment results, sometimes even with all plots generated, everything, but also the data. So I'm really looking forward when we will be able to reproduce a lot of papers because of that, because a lot of data is out there for people publishing. So I guess it will then make us think about how we design our experiments, because knowing that someone else can reproduce the experiments exactly will make us think what kind of potential faults are there. And plus, the publishing world is changing dramatically. We have right now those repositories, archive or bioarchive, when you can place a paper, get comments from other people, like open reviews. So you can collect those comments, you can get those comments from experts, which is really great. You don't have to wait for a year to publish in Nature to get free comments from your colleagues that reviewed your paper. You can get a lot of comments from people from other domains as well. And yeah, I guess that will help us to design experiments properly once we get feedback faster and efficient and broader view of like what people are thinking about our problems. So I'm really excited about the biomarket part that we're doing right now, and especially the work that we presented today. Daniel, my colleague, presented today at the Doing Aging conference. I think it's really great that we also have not a clinical part, but the part that's facing consumers. So it's not only about the research, but how we can actually translate it into the real-world application. And for me as a scientist, it was an amazing experience. So we have a number of systems placed online when people can log in, upload the data, and get some tests done and some predictions made for them in terms of their biological age. And it was really amazing for me to understand that people probably are not really interested in a lot of like numbers and a lot of parameters about the blood tests. What they're interested in is how to make themselves younger, which is a completely different mindset. But then it's force you to think not about like a fancy algorithms or fancy way of analyzing data, present your plots, publish papers, but about the important point that what we want to do, we want to extend healthy lifespan. So for me, it was really great to have this feedback from people using my platform, of course, giving me like a lot of positive feedback, but negative feedback is also really, really crucial and valuable. So yeah, I guess that's it. Like a clinical translation, like translation into practice was really important for me, and I was really glad to see it happening last year. It's really challenging in the human experiments. You have to think about a lot of various things, but also you have to validate your models properly, collect more data on a broader spectrum of people, and we're all different. We have different lifespans. In an aging, you can see that it's all about personalization. If you want to find proper treatment, I think we will have to find a set of treatments for each person individually based on their current state. There is no universal pill, there is no universal treatment. That's my thought from experiments that we've done. We also, one of the experiments that we've done recently, that one that Daniel presented, we showed that we can generate the transcriptomic profiles with the desired age. And by doing this, we can then compare people with their current state of the transcriptome with their predicted state, like what if they're 30 years right now. Let's generate the transcriptome with their 60 years or 20 years, and then compare what changed over time. Then you can see what like will happen to them, but also what was like for them before, what was like working for them before, what with their transcriptome that made them younger. So you can design interventions upon those changes, and it will be completely personalized. And one of the things that we discovered, that those changes in transcriptomes are really different across people. There is no common changes of transcriptomes. And I think it's lack of current studies out there when people are trying to collect transcriptomics profiles or other profiles of people across ages and comparing them. But I think what we actually get in is the difference between people rather than the differences that are associated with age. So we are trying to tackle this problem right now, and we identify several of like patterns. So some of the genes, for example, they can change differently. So in some people they upregulate with age, in some people they stay constant, in some people they just downregulate with age. So if you're thinking of the current studies that are out there, if you have and this is the work we've done was on 10,000 people. So we have like a really broad spectrum of people with different races, different sexes, all that. If you think about the current studies, when you have a limited number of samples, you probably always having some people with where those genes been like constant. And then you say, all right, this gene is not associated with age. You do the study in a different lab, in a different number of people, and it could be the case that in those people the gene will be upregulated, and you say, yeah, this gene is upregulating with age, it's a good biomarker. Then there will be no difference. There will be a lot of difference between the outcomes of your study when you do in the different labs, for example. So this is what we identified, and I think it's really interesting work, but also like super challenging. This is what we're trying to right now to work with right now, to trying to identify those personalized signatures of aging, because we are all different, we all age differently, and I think it's really important for us to like embrace this variability, and then go from that with tackling aging process. Sure. So I think that AI is really helping developing the personalized medicine because we can use some of the models that have been trained on different people, like a group of people, but then you can later apply them for individuals to track their progress over time, to predict their individual profiles. So I see a lot of potential of AI in the personalized medicine. So as I mentioned, I don't believe there will be like one single pill that will work for all of us. And this, I believe in a personalized approach. I would say I'm a little bit pessimistic in a way that we're going to have like some huge success in a lifespan increase in the next couple of years. I think mainly because I believe we have to intervene aging at early stages, and then we will probably have to wait for those people that have been intervened in the early stages of their life to see what's happened there. This is why I think the biomarker field could be really important, because it can give us a sense of what will happen in the future, having people treated now, so you can get almost immediate feedback. Yes, people got younger by their biological age, instead of waiting for them like to die and decrease to see how it actually influenced their lifespan. This is why I'm working on the biomarkers of aging. I think that we will have a solution or treatment probably from other areas we never expected them to come from. A lot of people that do great science never associate their science with aging or regenerative medicine, while the things they're doing, the studies, could be really applied in life extension. I think that the digital medicine could be really, really great thing in the future. We can track people, like create their profiles, digital profiles, use them to track interventions over time, something like that. So I guess we just probably have to wait for some of the clinical trials that are going on right now in the different areas. Maybe don't believe what everyone is saying about aging, because when they focus on aging, maybe they're focused on some snake oil and something like sugar pills that never going to work. And also be open to other solutions that are happening out there, because they can be translated to the field of aging or going to probably get a dramatic impact on aging. So big data and advances in data collection is really driving the field of biomarkers of aging. So right now we have a lot of patient profiles for us to train on, to get some insights from. So I guess we will have more and more biomarkers coming. Not only really accurate one is a biomarker developed by Steve Horvath and later by Hanum and colleagues, the epigenetic clocks that use methylation profiles of your DNA to predict your age really accurately, but also other, probably less accurate, but more accessible data types. It could be even like your selfie or your heart rate variability or your activity pattern during the day. So I guess there will be a lot of innovation in biomarkers of aging probably this year, in the next couple of years, because companies are right now and the research institutions are looking to find some really accessible one. It also will be really beneficial for clinical trials, because if we're about to run a clinical trial for anti-aging treatment, we have to have a biomarker that will give us the outcome of a trial in a relatively short period of time, which I don't believe will be the case with the methylation, because it's so accurate in predicting age, meaning that it is rather robust. If then you're going to have someone on an intervention, probably you will have to wait for a year to see differences. And then sometimes it's not visible for clinical trials. You have to get your outcome relatively fast. I mean, for a number of reasons, for funding, but also like a follow-up, because you have to have people coming back to you, people on the treatment coming back to you with their changes, with their data. And if it's 1 year, can you actually hold people for 1 year for the treatment without saying them what is happening? I don't think so. I think it will be really hard to design such a trial. This is why I'm really looking forward for those biomarkers that can be really actionable that we can track changes faster than we can do with the methylation. So I believe that blood biochemistry could be the case of such biomarker that is really responsive to changes. Just from the theory, we know that our glucose fluctuates during the day. Albumin is also really responsive to our lifestyle. So I believe that really accessible data types that are really abundant, people are not thinking of them, could be really interesting, really interesting source of data about aging process. Could be like something really surprising, like a Twitter feed, because companies are using actually like Twitter feeds to predict different, like usually allergies to products and stuff like that. So something related to health. But you can think of like our Twitters as our representatives of what is happening in our mind, how we think, how we process, because like we put their text there. So it's our beliefs that change over time. With age, we tend to be more conservative, so you can get this type of information from Twitter feeds. So maybe we can develop those biomarkers. It could be something really, really interesting, how to like measure the age of a person with a Twitter feed. So yeah, I guess that those areas with the really accessible data types will probably accelerate aging research a lot.
Excellent.
So I myself got involved into the aging field from like a personal perspective. My father is 65 right now. He also a pilot, so he'd been in a really stressed condition for a really long time, all those jet lags and the radiation. So I can clearly see him aging. This makes me really worried about him and his lifespan and how long I'm going to spend. Oh. I mean, yeah, so how long he will be there with us, which is like super worrying. And this got me motivated because I myself, I'm a young person. I don't have a lot of concerns about my health. And for me, I guess it's like for every human being, it's a little bit hard to think in long term. This is why we're making a lot of stupid decisions, probably. It's really hard to project what will happen with you and if you continue doing what you're doing, and to be rational about health, to do a healthy lifestyle, unless something happens. But having him aging having him aging is actually making me think how I can change the process. Because I have skills, why not do this? So I guess if you really start thinking about other people, and how to make their life better, you should probably go and to do maybe a degree, maybe got involved in the aging field another way. But this is one of the probably best way of doing this from economical perspective, but also from personal perspective. If you'd like to make the world a better place, you should make people live longer and healthier.